Is the biscuit you're dunking in your tea even made with real butter anymore? What if I told you that some of Australia's most iconic biscuit brands have quietly replaced butter with palm oil, added industrial seed oils that promote inflammation, and are now packing more sugar per serving than a chocolate bar? These are the same biscuits your grandparents eat, except they're not. I spent weeks researching ingredient lists, comparing old recipes to current formulations, and analysing ownership changes of Australia's biggest biscuit brands. What I discovered will change how you see that familiar packet in your pantry. Products that have been Australian family favourites for over a century are now owned by foreign corporations that reformulated everything to cut costs while keeping the nostalgic packaging exactly the same. Let me take you through the worst offenders. Number 1. Arnott Tim Tam. This one hurts because Tim Tam is Australia's most famous biscuit. Sold in over 40 countries, the Tim Tam Slam is a national ritual. But here is what most Australians do not know. Arnott's has not been Australian-owned since 1997. The Campbell Soup Company bought Arnott for $2 billion. Then in 2019, Campbell sold the entire international biscuit division to Ferrero, the Italian confectionery giant. Your iconic Aussie Tim Tam is now owned by the same company that makes Nutella and Ferrero Rocher. But ownership is just the start. Look at the ingredient list. Sugar is the first ingredient before flour. Each Tim Tam contains approximately 8 grams of sugar, that is 2 teaspoons. The chocolate coating contains sugar, cocoa, and palm oil. Real chocolate uses cocoa butter. Tim Tam chocolate uses palm oil because it is cheaper and more shelf-stable. The cream filling is primarily palm oil and sugar with added milk solids and flavoring. This is not cream. This is sweetened vegetable oil, whipped with emulsifiers. The filling contains soy lecithin and polyglycerol polynicotinate. These emulsifiers keep the chocolate coating smooth and prevent the filling from separating. According to research published by the National Institutes of Health, emulsifiers can disrupt gut bacteria and thin the protective mucus layer in the intestines. When you eat Tim Tams regularly, you are consuming these gut-disrupting compounds daily. Consumer reviews on Product Review Australia describe newer Tim Tam batches as tasting different. One reviewer wrote that the biscuit portion tastes more processed than it used to, with an artificial aftertaste. Another said the chocolate coating feels waxy compared to how it tasted years ago. When foreign corporations acquire Australian brands, recipe changes follow. The Tim Tam you remember from childhood is not the same product in that packet today. Number 2, Oreo. Oreos are not Australian, but they dominate Australian supermarket shelves. Owned by Mondelez International, an American multinational that also owns Cadbury. Here is what the marketing does not tell you. Oreos sold in Australia are manufactured in multiple countries, including China, Indonesia, and Spain, depending on which factory had capacity. The ingredient list reveals why Oreos are so addictive. Sugar is the first ingredient, then wheat flour, then palm oil, and canola oil. The cream filling contains sugar, palm oil, and high fructose corn syrup. High fructose corn syrup is rarely used in Australian products because consumers have learned to avoid it, but Oreo imports American formulations. Each Oreo contains approximately 4.5 grams of sugar. 3 Oreos, which is a typical serving while watching television, delivers 13.5 grams of sugar. That is over 3 teaspoons of sugar from biscuits marketed to children. The black color in Oreo biscuits comes from cocoa processed with alkali. This processing, also called Dutch processing, destroys most of the beneficial flavonoids in cocoa. You are eating cocoa for color and flavor, not for any health benefits. Oreos also contain soy lecithin as an emulsifier and artificial flavor. The cream filling tastes like vanilla but contains no actual vanilla. It is artificial vanilla, a synthetic compound that mimics vanilla taste. Consumer reviews describe Oreos as too sweet with an artificial aftertaste. One reviewer on Product Review wrote that Australian-made biscuits taste better and Oreos feel like cheap imports. Another said the cream filling leaves a chemical coating in your mouth. When you buy Oreos, you are supporting a multinational corporation, while local Australian biscuit makers struggle for shelf space. Number 3, Belvita breakfast biscuits. Belvita markets itself as the healthy breakfast option. Whole grains, sustained energy, perfect for busy mornings. The packaging shows wheat fields and promises nutritious starts to your day. But here is the devastating truth. Belvita is owned by Mandela's International, the same company that makes Oreo. The ingredient list shows whole grain wheat flour first, which sounds healthy, but then comes sugar, then vegetable oil, which is typically canola or palm oil. Each serving of 4 biscuits contains 12 grams of sugar. That is, 3 teaspoons of sugar in what is marketed as a healthy breakfast. Belva contains multiple types of sugar listed separately. You will find sugar, glucose syrup, and invert sugar syrup by listing them separately. Mandela's avoids having sugar appear as the first ingredient. This is a labeling trick to make sugar content seem lower than it actually is. The biscuits also contain raising agents, including sodium bicarbonate and ammonium bicarbonate. They contain emulsifiers, including soy lecithin and sunflower lecithin. They contain flavoring that is listed as natural flavoring, which is vague enough to include dozens of compounds. Nutritionists have criticized Belvita for marketing sugary biscuits as breakfast food. A proper breakfast should include protein, healthy fats, and fiber. Belvita provides refined carbohydrates and sugar with minimal protein. The whole grain content does provide some fiber, but not enough to offset the sugar load. Consumer reviews describe Belvita as dry and bland despite the sugar content. One reviewer wrote that these taste like cardboard with sugar sprinkled on. Another said eating 4 biscuits for breakfast left them hungry within an hour because there is no protein or fat to create satiety. When you buy Belvita thinking you are making a healthy choice, you're eating sugar biscuits marketed with health halos. Number 4. Milk arrowroot biscuits. Milk arrowroot has been an Australian staple since the 1800s. These plain biscuits are given to teething babies, served to elderly in nursing homes, and recommended for people with sensitive stomachs. The simple ingredients and bland taste create an impression of wholesomeness. But here's what the ingredient list reveals. Most milk arrowroot brands, including Arnott's version, contain refined wheat flour, sugar, vegetable oil, and milk solids. The vegetable oil is typically palm oil or canola oil. Real arrowroot biscuits should be made with arrowroot flour, which is a starch extracted from the arrowroot plant. Most commercial milk arrowroot biscuits contain 0 actual arrowroot. The name is misleading. You are not getting an arrowroot. You are getting refined wheat flour biscuits with a bit of milk powder. Arnott's milk arrowroot contains approximately 2.5 grams of sugar per biscuit. That seems modest until you realize babies and toddlers are given these regularly. 4 biscuits deliver 10 grams of sugar to a child whose daily sugar intake should be minimal. The biscuits also contain raising agents that contribute to sodium content. Each biscuit contains moderate sodium, but when given to babies or consumed regularly by elderly people managing blood pressure, this adds up. Consumer reviews from parents describe giving milk arrowroot to teething babies as a tradition passed down from their parents. But nutritionists now recommend whole food options like carrot sticks or cucumber for teething instead of sugary biscuits. When you give milk arrowroot to babies thinking it is a wholesome option, you are introducing refined flour and sugar while training young palates to prefer sweet tastes. Number 5. Monte Carlo. Monte Carlo biscuits are positioned as special occasion treats. 2 biscuits sandwiched with vanilla cream and raspberry jam coated with honeycomb pieces and coconut. These are served at morning teas and celebrations. But here is the disturbing truth about what you are actually eating. Each Monte Carlo contains approximately 9 grams of sugar. That is more than 2 teaspoons per biscuit. The sugar comes from the biscuit base, the vanilla cream filling, the raspberry jam, and the honeycomb coating. 2 Monte Carlos deliver 18 grams of sugar, equivalent to a can of soft drink. The raspberry jam contains glucose syrup, sugar, and minimal actual raspberry. The jam is primarily sweetened thickener with raspberry flavoring and red coloring. The vanilla cream filling is palm oil and sugar with milk solids and artificial vanilla flavoring. The honeycomb pieces are sugar cooked with baking soda to create aerated texture. The honeycomb adds additional sugar beyond the already excessive amounts in other layers. Monte Carlo biscuits contain multiple emulsifiers, including soy lecithin, and mono, and diglycerides. The high emulsifier content is necessary because the multiple layers require stabilization to prevent separation during storage. Consumer reviews describe Monte Carlo as sickeningly sweet. One reviewer wrote that eating one Monte Carlo is enjoyable, but eating two feels like sugar overload. Another said, the sweetness is so intense it masks any other flavors. For older Australians managing blood sugar or people with diabetes, Monte Carlo biscuits create dangerous glucose spikes. 9 grams of sugar per biscuit combined with refined flour means rapid digestion and blood sugar chaos. How to identify quality biscuits? Check the fat source. Quality biscuits use butter or coconut oil, not palm oil or unspecified vegetable oils. Butter creates superior flavor and texture. Look at the ingredient list length. Real biscuits need flour, fat, sugar, and raising agents. If the list contains more than 8 ingredients, it is overprocessed. Avoid multiple emulsifiers. One emulsifier like soy lecithin is common. Multiple emulsifiers, including polyglycerol polyinolate, indicate heavy industrial processing. Watch for sugar content. Quality biscuits contain sugar. But if sugar is the first ingredient, or if multiple types of sugar are listed, you're eating sugar with a bit of flour. Australian-owned matters. Companies like Byron Bay Cookie Company keep profits in Australia and maintain local employment. Foreign corporations prioritize cost-cutting and shareholder returns. Here is the bottom line. The Australian biscuit industry is dominated by foreign corporations that acquired iconic brands and quietly reformulated recipes to cut costs. Butter was replaced with palm oil. Simple recipes were replaced with emulsifier-laden formulations. Quality ingredients were replaced with the cheapest alternatives available. Arnott is owned by Ferrero. Oreo and Belvita are owned by Mandels. Even the nostalgic biscuits you remember from childhood have been reformulated without announcement. The packaging looks the same. Only the ingredient list reveals the betrayal. You deserve to know what you are paying for. If this video helped you understand what is really in your biscuit tin, hit the like button and share it with your family. Subscribe to The Food Judge so you do not miss our next investigation. Ring that notification bell. I will see you in the next.